Hi, and welcome to another video. This is Kevin, also known as AKAAWOL. My wife is so happy with her hairband that she asked that I take and do something with this one. This one has seen better days. It was really nice for a while, but I'm not sure what the materials were, but obviously it's falling apart. So we're going to take this bit off of here and we're going to repurpose it. And I have just the thing to do with it. So for this project, we're going to use this old band and we're going to use this floss here. All right, so stay tuned and I'll show you what we're going to do. Okay, so I'm getting right into this. Here I have 8 strands, 2 of each color, and I am going to create a chevron. Now mind you, on the right hand side you can see I'm not going all the way out to the end, and that's because I'm going to join another chevron to it. So the left hand side I'm going all the way down, right? So kind of got right into this thing, right? These are, I have like a slip knot to keep it into the clip, so that way half the string is going off to the other direction. These ones have been cut at 1/8 the total length of a skein. So I cut it into quarters and then I cut that in half again. So these are relatively short. I was able to use just 1 skein of each color. So there's only 4 skeins in this whole project. Here I bring the 2 together. This is just like making a double wide bracelet. Relatively simple, I think. The whole idea here is I wanted it to be thin, but have a little bit of a size to it. I wanted it to be a cute little bow, something that could be noticed from a distance. Sorry. And the colors I thought were kind of fun, kind of playful, bright. So, and nice contrast to my wife's dark hair. So that was kind of important too. Plus, since the band itself is almost black, like her hair, the bow just seems to just be there, like just, you know, somehow pinned to the side of her head or something. I think that's kind of cool. Let's see, what else can I tell you? I think I repeat the chevron like 6 times, but I basically, I have an idea in my head of what a bow should look like. And honestly, that's all I did, was I went based on a notion of, well, how long should a bow be? Well, you know, compared to its width, which I already have, how much longer should that be? And then I bring it down to like a diamond point to make sure that it made it easier to try to hide, because the bow should come in the middle, right? That's what kind of gives that bow its classic shape. So, and then I'll show you how I got the top part to come in the middle as well. That was wasn't what I was first thinking when I first started this, but when I turned it around, I saw an opportunity. I went with it, and I think you guys are going to be the ones that benefit the most, because it was really a cool idea, and I think it turns out really, really neat. Well, you've seen the thumbnail, right? So, you know, tell me what you think. Yes, the thumbnail isn't like super crisp and clear or whatever. You can see her face better than the bow, but you got the gist. I think it turned out really, really cool, and you'll be able to see it here at the end of this video. So, doing the chevrons like this, not the easiest pattern, because you don't get to work in a set area, which kind of helps, as far as I'm concerned, helps make things go a bit faster. Somebody recently told me they call it segment knotting. I don't know. It's just, if you can concentrate in one area at a time, you can get a lot more done at quicker speed, because you're not having to keep picking up every single string in the whole project. You just, work with a set few, and that way you're less likely to have to worry about things that are tangled or whatever. It just works well that way. But regardless, even if you could only do, say, a candy stripe, right? Or you wanted to do a single chevron because maybe this is a little bit too complicated, you can still make this work. The thing about all that is the center is kind of different. Although I think you could still, with the candy stripe, you could still pull it off. You'll have to take a look at it. You'll have to adjust and compensate. But yeah, no, you could do that. For me, a lot of it all relies on the symmetry. If you've watched enough of my videos, you know that's one of my biggest driving forces. It's created more fun challenges for me to try to create things of symmetry. In fact, one of my favorite, if I just want to challenge my mind or whatever, is I will go completely random for the first half of a bracelet, put a diamond in it, and then try to make it exact symmetry coming back the other direction. And it really challenges how you think about a bracelet, how you do the knots. And once you get good at that, you will find that looking at just about anybody else's bracelet and figuring out how to make it, it'll become super, super easy. It's just how that works. So you can see I keep shifting it up because working near the top of the clip definitely keeps it straighter. As much as I wanted to make this where I was showing you what I'm doing and having it kind of further down, it's just, it really, if you want a nice straight line, you want it to look good, keeping it closer to the clip will definitely benefit you. Kind of lose track as to how far along I am in this. This is obviously I'm doing the recording after I've already put this together, because you can't record audio and do time lapse at the same time. Well, you could, but it would sound all high pitched and you wouldn't be able to make out a single word out of the whole thing. So yeah, that's kind of cruising along here. Each set is a little bit closer to the end. That's the nice thing I like about these gradient ones, is that you can clearly see what a set looks like. And see, I pulled it out, gauged it, decided, yep, need to go a little more. I like to be able to see how many sets I've done, and you know, there's a certain reward myself, like, oh, I did a good job, look, I already got through a set, you know. It's how I kind of keep myself motivated. I'm not sure that that works for everybody, but I try to share what works for me, and then hopefully maybe you might find that it can work for you as well. Okay, so here you can see I am leaving off the ends, and this is what brings it down to that diamondy point. As soon as it gets out to the end, that's it. That string doesn't get touched again. Bring it into the middle, and bam, just like that. Let's see. All right, next I will turn it around and make the diamond for the center part. Okay, flip this bit around and pull out the slip knots. Now, as at this point, I kind of realized that, hey, I'm going to have to make this thing a diamond anyways. If I were to make a small actual diamond in that middle center space, that could actually look pretty neat. So it's basically 4 strings on each side, and it ends up being just a 2-color little diamond. I'm going to do this portion here at normal speed, so that way if you're trying to figure out how to do this at home, you're not getting confused. You don't have to pause it or slow it down yourself. So this is me taking it slow so you can see what's going on. If you were going to start out with just doing this whole thing a candy stripe, you would just start in the center and make your candy stripe going up in the one direction. And then you'll see what happens here before I go back the other way. If you're doing chevrons, likewise, you could do a single chevron. It would just have a diamond point at this center bit here. Okay, so you can see I went all the way to the edge and bounced it back towards the middle. This time I will do the same. Get down to that last red and bounce it back. Now, what is kind of the important part here is I will take a note of the sequence of the colors in the strings. So at the end of this, what it is, if we were to number this from lightest to darkest, right, and number it 1, 2, 3, 4, right, what we have is lightest, it's 1, the next one 2, 3, 4, and then it'll be 4, 3, 2, 1. And I like to do it with the numbers in my head as opposed to try to like name off the colors, because it'll be easier for me to just remember the numbers. Especially something like this, it's really simple. And why I need to know that is because I'm going to bring in all of the strings as though the bracelet was ending, or it's also how I sometimes begin my bracelets, and then reverse it back the other direction. And that's what gave this bow its shape. And like I said, I really think that turned out really, really cool. It's something that I definitely will do again. Not sure how I might do it differently, but I will definitely explore this again. It was fun. So you can see a couple, 3 more knots, and we'll have that diamond in place. So 3, 2, and 1. All right. Plus this, I think that little diamond kind of gave it a nice sort of a neat focal point. Everything else is just chevrons. Having that one little diamond really kind of makes the center stand out. At least to me it does. I mean, comment, tell me what you think. Okay, so I'm basically just doing the backwards knot on this left-hand side over the whole rest of the group. So first it was just over 1, then it's over 2, and it just keeps going, adding up the strings, and it's going to give me this really nice, smooth ending here. This is so fun. Again, before I get into this point, I have to know the sequence of the strings in order to make it go back the other direction. I can't emphasize that enough. That really makes the whole thing work. Now, this last one goes on, and then it goes back the other direction. So now at this point, I'm making a figure 4 to get it to go back to the right. So now I need the number 2, the second darkest, and this will make a figure 4, like a right-hand knot. It's just a single one, just to get it on and point it in the right direction. Now this will be the third darkest. Again, it's just a single on, just to get the strings situated in the right direction. So obviously I'm going to do the same thing with the right hand side, except for it goes in reverse. Each one, as I start to put it on there, will be going off to the left at the beginning, right? So and at that point, what I need to do is I need to make it so that way everything I'm creating mirrors everything that's on the top. And well, that's because of symmetry, right? But when you imagine the bow, you would imagine that the bow would be symmetrical. And I think that if you have this idea in mind kind of beforehand, it's kind of easy to plan this out, to be able to see what you want to achieve. Like I said, if you just did a chevron, right, and it came down, a chevron just started in the center and worked its way out, and then you did this, what I'm doing here, at the end of it, and then make the other chevron go in the other direction in the same color sequence, I think it would be really pretty. You know, that's a great alternative to this. If you wanted to do arrowheads or, you know, literally any pattern that's out there, it's available to do this. You could even, this could even be an alpha thing, you know, if you wanted to have a little bow that had some interesting whatever pattern to it, all that's possible. It's just your imagination that is the limit here. So, I just kind of want to get away from that whole notion that so many people want to try to do things exactly as they saw it. This is a real opportunity to do something neat and new and different and fun. So hopefully this is going to inspire a lot of neat stuff. I think it should. I mean, heck, I think the last headband definitely got some people thinking. So this is obviously, this takes a whole lot less string, which also takes a whole lot less time. So heck, I can even imagine you could make a little tiny bow tie for a child like this. Well, I guess you could, I guess my bigger bow ties, I have bow ties myself. You've probably seen that on my Instagram. Done similar to this, except for they were more than twice the size and least width, and then way longer. So similar concept. The centers were different. I had squished them in with a smaller bracelet. Here, my thing was, what was I going to crush the center in with to actually get it to narrow down? And my original thought was I was just going to like either do a flat kumi or a little braid or something. And then I realized that, hey, you know what? I can actually make it come in on its own, give it that same sort of look like this, and it would be really something to look at. So yeah, like I said, just last minute split decision. I think it turned out pretty cool. So you can see here I'm creating the reverse diamond, and you can see it's gonna basically set everything back in the same direction as the other side was. It'll just mirror the whole thing. And I'm being careful with my tension. I want to make sure that the sides match up real nice and cleanly. So that's kind of important. If you're still struggling with tension, this is maybe a little bit more advanced than what you're ready for. Just do the chevron thing. Or not the chevron, well, just a regular chevron, or do a candy stripe until you can get to where you can do these little diamonds and stuff pretty efficiently. But yeah, this is relatively easy at this point, I think. So yeah, and like I said, this is 4 skeins of embroidery floss. So even if you were buying more expensive ones, I think that the project itself would definitely pay for itself. And remember too, we're recycling from the old hairband, so that didn't cost us anything per se. So yeah, this is pretty economical, I think. Yep. Now at this point, I just have the darkest ones will come out in a sort of a W sort of shape. Or I guess that's an M at this point, right? It's W up above. It's an M at this point. And then the chevrons begin again. I guess I'm bringing it in towards the middle. At this point, I guess it wouldn't have mattered which direction. I do also have to say I like how the dark framed in that lighter color there. It kind of gave a lot more emphasis towards the center, which I think helped to actually really make the whole thing like really pop as far as like how the colors and stuff work with this. It also led to my whole coming up with how was I going to fasten it on to the hairband without covering up the center, because that turned out looking so nice. The thought of actually wrapping strings around it suddenly seemed completely off the table. I didn't want to spoil that at all. I looked at the possibility of using a needle through portions of that in the back, but didn't see a nice clean area where I could actually work that in. So you have to stick around and see how we did that one, because that was, again, another one of those last minute, how can we do this right? And I think it turned out exactly right. So in fact, I would hazard to say that I think I would do it pretty much that same exact way again. And you can see the strings kind of try to roll around and stuff. That little tap that I'm doing with my finger over the top tries to set everything back down and get the strings going in the right direction to help make it so that way it's going to go exactly how it's supposed to go. And see, I do that a lot. Just kind of make sure they're guided properly or whatever. So now it's kind of a race to get the other side done. Because at this point, I know that I have something cool, and I get all excited, and yeah, that's what can I say? At this point, I can't wait to see the whole thing finished. So this is all being done on an easel. It's got a big old clip onto there holding it into place. I just was recently talking with somebody who was asking a little bit about my like how I have my setup and you know, as far as boards versus whatever. And yeah, I have to admit, like when I was younger, I could kind of sit with a board, cross my leg, and go to work for hours and think nothing of it. I'm a bit older now, and the thought of doing that just, no, I could cry. So oftentimes if my back is bothering me, the easel is really my best bet. And I know that there's a bunch of people out there who are like, you know, I just, you know, pin it to a pant leg or whatever. That's great. You're young. You can do that. But trust me, at some point down the line, have a clipboard in mind. It will probably help you out greatly. Save you a lot of pain and suffering. Especially if you're going, if you have to contort your body in any way for any length of time in order to make something, you will end up noticing that having an effect after a number of years. Whether it's 5 years, 10 years, wherever down the road, you will notice that bad posture will cause you trouble. So better, and I can say this from personal experience, I wish I had known earlier on. I would have made a lot of different choices. So I say it not to say that I'm the right and you're wrong, or I say this out of compassion. I don't want other people to have to necessarily suffer for an art unnecessarily. So I think the other reason this project is going along so quickly is that because the strings are so relatively short, it makes it really, really easy to work with. When I did the other hairband, obviously I had to have the strings quite long, and it takes a little more to form each knot. Here, because each of the strings is shorter, it is, in fact, easier to actually work with. So there's another thing in favor of it, giving this one a try. And let's see, there's what, 4? There's a potential for doing this in an 8 color. That, I guess then if you were doing a single chevron or the candy stripe, you could easily do an 8 colored rainbow. Just double up 2 of the colors in general. That might turn out pretty cool. Might have to actually try that one. Let's see, what else could we do with this? Yeah, see, that's the thing. I make something and I instantly am kind of thinking, you know, about what other versions could go into something like this. I think there's a whole lot of variety, a lot of variations to pretty much any of these projects. This would look cool if you did it in a whole bunch of little diamonds as well, I think. That would kind of look neat. Yeah, you could do it in 2 colors, where even go kind of Celtic-y. Yeah, no, there is a whole realm of possibilities out there. So hopefully when you guys want to share this with me, you could show me an alternative way of doing it. It'll be more fun, I think. Okay, so here I have got it down to the end, and I'm going to do the same thing I sort of did in the middle, where I'm bringing it all down to a single point. So this is just a single figure 4 and grouping all of them together. And then another single 4, just all the way down to the middle. And now I'm going to do this on both sides so we can knot the 2 sides together. And all right. So this time it's the backwards figure 4, like I was doing a left-handed knot. All right. And the last one, this is pretty cool. Show you something neat. So if you're trying to bring it down to a single thing, you can, when you finally get to the very last, you can take that single figure 4 and go over the entire group. That's including everything that already came down from the right hand side. And I did that so that way it keeps that whole thing grouped really nice and tight together. Makes it really pretty. See right here. There it is. Oh. Yeah, there was one little strand that tried to peek out, but there it goes. See, now it's all grouped in really, really nice and tight. And I will flip it around. Do the same to the other side. Almost look like how the end sort of looks a little bit like a heart. I think that's kind of neat. But it's lost on the inside. Nobody gets to see it, so. Let's see. What else can I tell you about this? Well, this is not the first one I've done. I can't remember when. I'm going to say it was probably early 90s. But it was different. What pulled it in was kind of just like a braided string, and it was pulled into a tight knot, and that's actually what held it onto the band. So this has just been a modified version of that, you know, having growth and having learned new things and new ideas and whatnot. It has changed over the years, but definitely it's not the first time I've created little bows to put onto a hairband before. Mind you, back then I didn't have like a website or a shop or anything like that, so you didn't have to worry about like shipping and all those kind of things. I was into trying new things and seeing what I could come up with, and thought it was pretty neat. And here you can see it go around the whole group again. And bam, nice and tight. So now I tie the two together. Now my trick here was, I made it harder on myself to make it easier for you to see what I'm doing. All right, so kind of moved it around that way. And see, these two, the insides have to come together, and I'm creating a square knot, which I just recently found out is also, this version is called a reef knot. So I guess it's a square knot if there's other strings going through the middle of it, and it's a reef knot when there's not. And I'm not sure that I even understand how or why, but so it is a square knot, but it's also a reef knot. So if we're going to be, you know, picky about it, that's what it is. So there's the bow. That's what it looks like. And yeah, my big fat thumb is right in the middle. There you go. So nice, right? Center came out awesome. So here's what I come up with. I took off 2 strings off of each side and take the whole rest of the group and very carefully cut the rest off, leaving just those 2 strands. And you can see I'm being really super careful because one wrong snip and bam, I don't have anything to attach it to the headband. Now, at this point, I don't need the scissors. I need a needle, and I have to admit, and I need the headband, but I need the little thing that, for putting this thread through there. This is a little, I forget what the heck they call that, but helps it to get the needle in, which, by the way, you can kind of tell, struggled with my eyes there, hating it, but that thing makes it easier to actually thread the needle. Mind you, that is a needlepoint needle, so putting the embroidery floss through it shouldn't be that big of a deal. I just kind of didn't want to spend all my time on the video doing it. So now, kind of going through the whole thing and coming up, just happened to be there. Just thought that seemed like a good place. Of course, I had the needle too far towards the middle, which sort of made it a problem to get the string through, so live and learn. Slide the needle down a bit and put it back through. Now I'm going to go up diagonally into the very next slot, and that will let the string sort of just disappear inside. See, little tug and poof, it is gone. And that's it. Now I take the string off there and thread up the needle on the other one. And I'm going to do the same exact thing, except for on the other side. And I will do this 3 more times. So that way I have all 4 strings coming up through the front and then back in and down the back. And what this will also do is it kind of keeps the bow to being always sort of like the middle part of it will always be pulled together, and allows the outer part to get fluffed up and more bow-like. So you can see I came up through on the other side and back down diagonally right next to it. Kind of looped around the whole rest of the thing. There it goes. And a little tug and gone. See, fluff up the outside. Nearly perfect. And those 2 strings will tie to the hairband. And now I just do that to the other side. And so now the trick here was trying to do this so you could see what I'm doing, so that you can see this is a bit of a struggle to actually do this on camera. But again, this is a square knot or a reef knot if you prefer. And I have it offset, which it doesn't matter which side you put it on, because if you want the bow on the right side of your head, you just turn it so that way it's that way. If it's tied to that side and you want it on the left hand side here, just take the hairband and flip it around. Right? So it doesn't matter. Just most gals, I guess, don't want the bow right in the middle of the top of their head, which rightfully so. I guess that makes sense. And tie up the other side. Now, mind you, it is sort of like, because of the way it's laying, it's not straight up and down or whatever, but that's okay. As long as it's good and tight, you can kind of roll it around to where it's supposed to be. It's just getting it on there really, really good and tight. No gaps. And there we go. And the third one, just to be extra safe, because of course I'm paranoid. And there it is, sitting on top now. Still have to flip up the ends. Now, see where I cut off those bits and those strings are showing? Didn't want that to be a problem. So, easy solution for that will be to, well, obviously poke them sort of down in, and a bit of glue. So, I will be grabbing the glue here any moment. And I did use a needle to actually kind of mash the glue and stuff in there. I wanted the string sort of in to begin with. And there's a bit of shaping to be done. And I have to cut off those long ends. But you can see, that's kind of the gist. Right? Not bad. All right, so here we go. Cut off these ends. I don't cut them right down to the very, very edge, mostly because if you do that, you run the risk of the knot coming right out. So, especially if there's no glue or anything on it, that's a real thing. So now, a little bit of glue. And this stuff works great. It dries super fast. It's clear. Doesn't make a mess. Still, I use a needle instead of my fingers. I really hate glue all over my hands. But whatever, you can get all hands-on-y with it. My mom used to say that even as a small child, I had a thing about getting dirty. So, here we go. Not too bad. So, if you enjoyed this video, please like and subscribe, and leave a comment, and I will see you in the next video. Until then, don't get your strings in a bunch.